This video is sponsored by Dungeon Hunter 6. Now, we all know this is a sponsored video, but we actually managed to get some pretty interesting trivia for this episode, and we talked candidly with Dungeon Hunter devs from all over the world about what inspired the games and how they were made. This video being sponsored has also allowed us to donate $12,000 to help preserve video game history. We asked folks on YouTube how they'd feel if we used sponsored videos as a means to give more back to the community, and the response was overwhelmingly positive. So here we are. This time, the money will go to the Video Game History Foundation and will be used to help preserve all kinds of video games and video games media. So if you're interested in how one of the biggest hack-and-slash dungeon crawler franchises in gaming came to be, sit back, relax, and enjoy. The first Dungeon Hunter title released in 2009 and quickly rose to the top of the mobile game chart listings. It was mainly inspired by Diablo and other hack-and-slash titles of the late 90s and early 2000s, but a few Gameloft employees told us that some of its mechanics and aesthetic were also influenced by the likes of World of Warcraft and the Elder Scrolls series. 2009 was pretty early days for smartphones, which had only recently been adopted by the mainstream. Gameloft saw an opportunity for hack-and-slash games to be played on smartphones, with a touch interface being able to somewhat mimic a mouse pointer interface, and took a chance on bringing the genre to mobile. But the series' origins actually go back further than this. One of the developers we reached out to was one of the original designers on the series, who told us, "The original Dungeon Hunter was actually a 2D game on flip phones called Dungeon Quest. It was initially released in Korea. When Gameloft decided to bring it to the North American markets, the game was changed to Dungeon Hunter. And while Dungeon Quest was a 2D sprite-based game that fit into a single megabyte, Dungeon Hunter was one of the first fully 3D games on mobile, made possible with the release of the iPhone and its contemporaries. Dungeon Hunter's success actually led it to being remade for the PlayStation Vita and the PS3 PlayStation Network in 2011 under the name Dungeon Hunter Alliance. With the game getting a new high-definition coat of paint, many of its references and inspirations are a little clearer. Many enemies and monsters were inspired by Dungeons & Dragons and even Lord of the Rings, and there's also a touch of Nintendo in there as well. One developer told us, "You can see some influence from Zelda that inspired the fairies as well as some enemies like slimes." Being a bigger home console release, Alliance was published internationally, including in countries like Japan. And interestingly, its Japanese release came with yet another name change. Dungeon Hunter Alliance was now Dark Quest Alliance. Usually when games are renamed this way, it's due to licensing issues, with another company in the region already having a trademark or product with the same name. So we asked Gameloft if this was the case, and they confirmed our suspicions. Dungeon Hunter is named Dark Quest in Japan ever since the first title, because the trademark wasn't available in Japan. It is available now, but we don't see any point in switching back to Dungeon Hunter since we'd lose all brand awareness in the region. One interesting feature of Alliance was that it included support for the PlayStation Move peripheral. Gameloft tried the feature out during early testing, and it seemed like a good fit for the genre. However, including Move support ended up taking more development time than expected, and actually ended up delaying the game's launch past its target of holiday 2010. The teams that worked on early Dungeon Hunter titles were fairly small, so delays were probably to be expected. In fact, the original Dungeon Quest only had about a dozen developers total, but having a small team meant that when they put in Easter eggs, everyone could get involved. After talking with a few developers for the early Dungeon Hunter games, they brought up an Easter egg from the Alliance where there's a graveyard with tombstones, all of which have the names of team members engraved in them and with funny memorials. We played through Alliance as part of our research for this video, and we found the graveyard they're talking about towards the end of the game. One example is a headstone that references the game's lead technical game designer, Yoann Moujnou. It says, "Yoann the hero. He couldn't even save himself." Although the early Dungeon Hunter games were successful, the mobile games industry at the time was tumultuous, so when Dungeon Hunter 2 was being made, the team thought it'd be the last of the series, and decided to make the final boss an evil god that when defeated, is replaced by the player and the universe is destroyed in the process. But Dungeon Hunter 2 ended up being just as big of a hit as the first game, and Dungeon Hunter 3 was greenlit shortly after the game's release. This is actually why Dungeon Hunter 3's setting is a world post-cataclysm. And as the series evolved, different kinds of media would continue to inspire the team. Dungeon Hunter 5 lead level designer Joel Gallarneau went on record saying that some of the setting and characters of DH5 was inspired by the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. And since we had a chance to talk to the developers of the new Dungeon Hunter 6, we wanted to ask them what inspired the team this time around. The team told us they drew some inspiration from Dark Souls 3, Elden Ring, as well as Game of Thrones. Everyone on the team is apparently a big fan of the show, and even made an NPC based on one of the show's characters. Dungeon Hunter 6's narrative team told us, "Our favorite NPC is Jorik Jr., the guild head of the bounty hunter. In Dungeon Hunter 5, the head of the bounty hunters guild was someone older, serious, and authoritative. But it was the 10th anniversary since Game of Thrones started when we began development on Dungeon Hunter 6, and discussions on social media reminded us of the regrets about the series ending. Hence, we decided to design a chubby, seemingly weak but very smart young guild head, taking inspiration from one of our favorite characters in the series, Samwell Tarly. And while we love hearing about Easter eggs and the like, what really interests us is unused ideas, challenges, and what was left on the cutting room floor. Dungeon Hunter 6 has a few stealth stages where players turn into cats to sneak around. The team has 5 adorable cats in their offices, and they really wanted the cats in the game to be voiced by their office cats, but things didn't go to plan. The team told us, "We constantly tried to get our company's cats to do the voiceover for the cats in the game. They'd regularly interrupt design sessions or meetings with their meowing, and for some odd reason, they'd go silent every time we try to record them. Not even cat treats or canned food would coax them. Whenever we set up a recording environment, the office cats fall silent. We're yet to crack this puzzle. If anyone watching is a cat behavioral psychologist, give us your best guess in the comments." While some Dungeon Hunter sequels have completely changed their setting, for Dungeon Hunter 6, the developers wanted to continue the story and world of Dungeon Hunter 5. The developers had a bit of a soft spot for Dungeon Hunter 5's world, and after consulting their player base, it seems fans felt the same way. There's a lot of places and elements in the Dungeon Hunter 5 world that went unexplored that could be expanded upon. And although the devs wanted to bring back some familiar faces, due to conflicting issues with the storyline of Dungeon Hunter 5, they had to move the story 200 years into the future. The devs were most excited about exploring areas outside the Valencia Kingdom, that's the game's long-surviving center of civilization, like other planets, their environments, and the races living on them. They asked themselves what conflicts would emerge between the people of Valencia and other mainland tribes during their battle against demonic invasion, what elements of human nature would come to the surface, and how the competition of resources between all these societies would evolve. One of the new story elements in Dungeon Hunter 6 is the inclusion of 4 demon lords: Pride, Hate, Agony, and Desire. We asked why the team chose these emotions to base the demons on. The team told us, "We think that most of the torment humans endure comes from these, but they are not undefeatable. Therefore, we let pride fail due to human wisdom, hate fail due to human forgiveness and redemption, pain fails due to noble dedication and sacrifice, and desire fails due to love and cooperation." Even though Dungeon Hunter 6 is based on the world of 5, the game does make some noticeable gameplay changes. Somewhat controversially, Dungeon Hunter 5 lacked a class system, but for Dungeon Hunter 6, the devs brought in a new class system called Factions. We asked the team why they brought classes back, and they told us that they wanted characters with different features to pair up, and also wanted to retain a feature from the previous game where each player can experience different combat modes. So to accommodate this, they brought in Factions and added account levels, so as the account level grows, players can create a new class to experience, and all classes can be unlocked under one account. The team said, "We hope to have a class setting that'd make the combat experience more character-based and unique, while at the same time making it easy for users to experience all classes. That's our design goal." In Dungeon Hunter 6, every class can only use their own weapon, and each class's weapon distinguishes between the main and offhand. For example, the warrior wields a pair of one-handed swords, whereas the mage has a staff and orb. The last thing we wanted to ask the developers was what they thought early Dungeon Hunter games might have lacked that Dungeon Hunter 6 has improved on. Due to the ease of access to the internet these days, social interactions in guilds have been hugely expanded upon, with both guild versus guild and guild versus environment gameplay elements. And thanks to mobile devices becoming more powerful in recent years, they can make the worlds more vast and the bosses bigger. If what we talked about today has piqued your interest, you can pre-register Dungeon Hunter 6 right now for free on both Android and iOS devices. All you need to do is click on the link in the description of this video, or scan the QR code currently on screen. You can claim your pre-registration rewards when the game launches in October, and grab things like free summons and in-game resources.